Hey everybody, welcome back. So today we're doing some work on the old 67. Had this thing warming up the other day and all of a sudden it just died. So I went through a few tests. It's either the coil or the ignition control module, but I pulled the distributor out because it had a lot of play. I'll put a clip in here. And what ended up happening is the gear on the bottom of the distributor is probably like halfway worn out, so it had a lot of play. So anyhow, it was like 70 bucks for a new HEI distributor for it. But I'm going to be, while I have it apart, I'm going to change a few things around. Let me put you over here and show you. So I bought this unit secondhand years ago. So I figure while I'm at it, I'm going to install this, and I'm also going to take out the ignition control module in the distributor. I got one on the floor right here. This is the distributor that came out of it. So I'll basically be taking out the condenser, the ignition control module, and wiring this magnetic pickup right up to that MSD box. So the distributor's on its way in, but I'm going to start bolting in this MSD box and wiring that in, so I'll bring you guys along here in a minute. So right here is where I'm going to be mounting it. And hopefully it won't be too much of a pain in the ass to stick my hand up inside this fender. That thing's pretty damn solid. So one thing I already did in the instructions, this works for a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder. There's these two wires right here that are looped. There's a red one and a blue one. For a 6-cylinder, you gotta cut the red. So I cut that. I put some shrink wrap that has like glue in it. So these two wires here hook up directly to the battery. I had to lengthen the ground wire because it was obviously too short. The gray wire is going to be for the tack, so I'll hook my tack wire up to that. I do not believe that I use the white wire. I'll have to double check in the instructions. Red wire should be key on. White wire I'm not going to use because that should be for like a point pickup type situation. These two wires are going to go directly to the coil on the HEI cap. So right now I'm just waiting for the distributor to come in. So I'm going to get some of these wires loomed and looking a little bit cleaner. I'm also going to be putting a relay in for the ignition, so I'm going to get started on that. So as far as relays, I picked up probably about 20 of these so far over the years. I use these, they work pretty well. And some people have confusion about how these things are to be wired. I'll show you how I wire them. So the 30, that goes to the positive terminal on the battery. You can put a fuse in between. I've wired them direct, I've wired them with a fuse. Probably always a good idea to have a fuse circuit, but regardless, 30 gets battery power, okay? So with this relay as it sits, if you were to have your 30 be positive, 87A would also have power. See how that's kind of connected right there? So when you are using a relay as a electronic switch, which is basically what it is, you can ground one of the 85 or the 86, and then you put your power. So like let's say you have headlight switch and you were wanting to wire these in for your headlights, you'd have your headlight switch trigger on which will engage this coil, and then that will move this switch over to 87, so then your headlights would be coming off of 87, if that makes sense. So it's basically an electronic switch, takes the load off of a toggle switch or headlight switch, however it be, but hopefully that's useful for some of you guys. Of course, it decided to start pouring. So I'll show you guys what I got going on so far, just taking a little break from the rain. So I ended up getting a new battery terminal. There's the MSD box. Not sure if that's supposed to be getting wet. Might have to make a little rain shield going over it. But anyways, got a relay here. It's grounded to the body. And then I got the power wire that goes directly to battery. I could put an inline fuse in there. This wire, the yellow going up to a red, that makes this terminal right here a key-on post. So whenever I need key-on stuff, I can just hook it right up to this. So I have the key-on wire from the MSD box going to that. And then I got my tack wire and my key-on wire. That's going to be coming down along here. And it's going to be tying into the factory-ish harness that's been spliced together over the years. But I'm going to be hooking it up to that. So that's that so far. Still waiting on the distributor. It's supposed to be in later, so I'll put you guys back on when there's some more progress. Alright, still waiting on the distributor, but I'll show you what I got done. I got that wiring tucked back pretty decently. Left this out. The instructions say to route this separately, so I'm doing what the instructions say. But I got the power hooked up, and the ground will hook up to here. And I've just zip tied these wires along. I'll run them up along here, but these will plug into the bottom of the distributor and to these wires right here. So I got this pretty much prepped as much as can be. I guess I could put the new spark plugs in. So I might as well gap those out. I should probably look at what the gap can be increased to. I'll probably just set them to 40. Call it a day. So might as well keep going while I'm waiting. Alright, got the spark plugs in. I gapped them to 45 thousandths. So here's the new distributor. First things first, we gotta make sure it's the same. This is made by JDM Speed Motor. Cheap Amazon special. That distributor that was in there, I got my dad from the junkyard probably back in 2008 or 9, I'm wanting to say. So it was used then. It just got worse and worse, I guess, over the years. Now, one thing I was hoping for, I see this has an O-ring. I wanted to put a gasket on the bottom, base gasket. This one that came off tore. This one has an O-ring on it though, so I don't know if that'll be sufficient. They look about the same. So that's cool. So here's the inside of the distributor. What I'll be doing is well, the rotor's got to come off, but this ignition control module is coming out. Then I'll be plugging those wires, which you'll see here in a minute on that. So this has a Phillips screw here. I'm going to lower this camera down so that way I can see what the heck I'm doing. Right here you have a ground wire, which is the middle pin. This, by the way, is what you can do if you're wanting to run one of these GM HEI distributors for timing control with like a Phytech or a Holley Sniper or whatever, because it's got the magnetic pickup in there. So the pigtail that I'm going to be hooking up to the mag pickup is actually, it has the purple and green connector like that plugs into the MSD box or the Holley Sniper. Anyways, you'd have to lock out your advance mechanism, of course, and then I can't remember who it is, but somebody sells an adjustable plate right here instead of a vacuum canister, and then you can phase your magnetic pickup, and you'd have to figure it out with the rotor and the distributor body, but that's how you'd get one of these to work. And I'll eventually do that on this when I put the Sniper on, but for right now I'm just hooking this up to the MSD box. And I'll save all these parts and just put it in a bag in the truck, so if for some reason the MSD box goes out, then I'll have this to at least get me back on the road. Okay, I'm gonna go clean this grease off my hand, and then we'll continue on. So here is that adapter harness, and that's what the plug looks like. Now this is off the distributor that came out of it. This is the plug that you have the center ground, and then you have the positive side of the coil and negative side of the coil. I might have those mixed up, but anyways, you get the picture. This came down inside the distributor, and it had a what's it called, a capacitor? A condenser, excuse me, wired into the side. Anyways, I split this apart so that way I can use this for the wires to come through instead of just an O-ring, and I needed a ground anyways for the coil, so this hooked right up inside the body. I'm assuming it's going to work with this distributor. We'll find out here in a minute, but that's the plan at least. Look at that. Fits right in. So that'll work good. Alright, after a bunch of messing around, here's how I ended up doing it. I found a couple small clamps to put on there. I just put a little tape on there just to be on the safe side. I don't know, I doubt anything's going to happen, but anyways, those run through the factory connector piece, and then there's a cover. And I'll put some glue on the top of this where I broke the, or maybe I could just heat it up. Yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, you son of a gun! Look at that, and I'm going to have to tear the whole thing apart again, route the wires through that first. Alright, just a second. Here's what I ended up doing instead. I just cut a little section out for the wires to go through. To hell with tearing that whole thing apart. That was a pain. Now if I can get it hooked up, and that's going to be another question. Okay, there's that. Semi-factory. So I'm going to get like a screwdriver or something and heat it up with a torch and just push it up against these plastic nubs. That ought to reseal it. But anyhow, that worked out pretty well. So once I get this, these little nubs taken care of, then I'm going to go stab this thing in. Hopefully this O-ring is enough because I don't have a base. I'll have to look around. I might have a gasket somewhere, but I'm going to go stab this in, and hopefully it's close enough to where the other one was. So we'll find out. I didn't put it up to top dead center like I should have before I pulled this other one out. So, alright, I'll put you guys back on in a minute. Here we are back at it again the next day. Man, I was drenched yesterday. I had to call it quits, but anyways, I'll show you what I got going on so far. So I got it pretty much all wired up besides the spark plug wires, and I got to hook the ground up for the MSD box. But Here we have, like you saw in the earlier part of the video, here's the mag pickup wires, and they come up around. They plug into the box up here on this pigtail. And then coming off of the distributor cap where the coil is, you got your battery positive and then the negative side of your coil. The ground is in the center. That's what this black wire is. So I was able to utilize the stock ground for the coil, and then the positive and negative side of the coil, they went up to the MSD box. So pretty much I got plug wires. I already put new plugs in last night, so plug wires, and then I set it at 10 degrees and have the rotor at number 1. So hopefully it'll be a turnkey situation. We will find out, but I'll get these plug wires on and then I'll bring you guys to the next step. Alright, just got the plug wires routed in there. Got a little zip tie action to hold the wires. Turned out pretty nice, if I do say so myself. So I got to hook this up. I got my timing light sitting here. So, oh, you know what? I need to find a wrench for that. I wonder. Let's see if I'm lucky. Nope. Okay, I'm going to find a wrench for that battery terminal. And we'll put you guys on. Fingers crossed we have fire. Alright, let's see what happens. I'm going to have to double check the timing on this because it seems like something's kind of weird. And it also looks kind of like the distributor's moving around a little bit. That bolt's not tightened down all the way, but it shouldn't move like that. So I'm going to have to do some looking around, but the ignition box works, I guess. One good thing, so let me double check the firing order on this. We'll get you right back on. Alright, let's go for round 2. Looks like I had 2 wires mixed up. Now we're talking. Right there, it's sitting at 29 degrees max advance and 8 at idle. I'll have to drive it and see how it seems. It must have just been the distributor was a little loose on the base clamp down there on the bottom. I'm going to try to hold this really steady. I can't really see. I can see vibration through the screen, but I don't see the distributor moving like I saw before. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna go take this thing for a rip. I'll put you guys on for a little video of that. So here we are on a little drive. Thing's purring right along. Has a little bit more power than it did before. Not by much. This thing's pretty slow, but runs pretty good. As soon as this light turns green, give a little bit of room and we'll give her hell. Runs pretty good. So for 29 degrees max advance, we'll leave it at that for a while, and I'll put the time in a little bit later, but I'd say that was a successful repair. So everybody, thanks for watching, thanks for subbing. Until next time, we'll catch you guys on the flip side.